another edition of Tech Tuesday presented by Delta Media Group, where all of our best jokes come from TikTok. I mean not that joke, but then that joke wasn't very good. So today we are going to take a look at an update that we recently made to the pocket listing system. Now this is functionality that is going to be only available to some of you. It really depends on whether or not the pocket listing system has been turned on at the company level. But essentially, it allows you to enter listings directly into the DeltaNet instead of entering them at the MLS. So a lot of companies will use them for rental listings, things like that. But if that system is turned on for you, then you will have the ability to add a pocket listing by going to Listings and down to Manage My Listings. Now from here, you could also type into the quick search, Manage My Listings, or just Listings, and it will come up as one of the options here. There we go. So you can see we have quite a few. But if I click on Manage My Listings there, it takes me straight to that Manage My Listings page also. So this page we've gone over in other videos in more detail, but basically it lays out all of the listings that the system recognizes as yours. Typically those will be listings from the MLS, but this list will also include any pocket listings you've created. So to create a new pocket listing, you'll click on Enter New Pocket Listing, and you can see it takes you to a brand new interface that will allow you to enter all the information for that listing, not unlike how you would enter it into the MLS. Now, the main points, or the high points of the updates here, is that the old system would actually allow you to enter a listing using criteria that didn't really make any sense. So I could enter a residential listing, so I could have property category set to residential, and then I could have the property type actually set to something like office building. So if I created a listing like that, it really wouldn't be available or searchable anywhere on the public website, since that system is not meant to be able to search for a residential listing that is office space, because it doesn't make sense. So what you can do here is now the system will kind of drive you to create things that are always going to be searchable and are really always valid entries. So that's kind of the important part here. So we'll just go through and we'll create a listing, and you can kind of see how it works piece by piece. So first off, we're going to leave that listing status to active, and we're going to leave it as a sale, though we could make this a rental listing, auction, so we have additional options here. I will point out that you can see we have categories down here that are currently grayed out for rental and commercial. And the reason for that is I'll have to select rental over here, and once I've chosen that the type of listing here is rental, then it shows up as an option over here. So now I can go in and I can enter the rental related options. Commercial works in roughly the same way, but commercial is actually a property category instead of a type of transaction. So I can switch this to commercial, and you can see commercial lights up. So there you have it. Now we'll go ahead and we'll just get one set up. So I'm going to go with a residential listing. The MLS ID, I could let the system automatically create one for me, so I'll go ahead and do it that way. But I could just type one out here if I wanted. So it's nice with certain pocket listings to make an easy way to reference them. For example, for a lot of the listings I've created for demo purposes, or I would put in here demo listing 1 -1 or -2 or whatever I want, and that makes it just an easy way for me to reference those listings. So we'll let that one come up with some automatically. I'll leave our property category on residential, and you'll notice now when I go to property types and expand that, I see only residential related property types. So that is an important distinction here, and one that prevents you from being able to create a listing with basically an invalid property category and property type combination. So we'll make this one single family. We have a listing date. Now we also have an expiration date, which can be important here. It'll set it to 1 year out by default, but I could modify that if I wanted to. I would just click the calendar here, or actually click on the field, and the calendar opens up. And then I can go out and I can set that to whatever date I choose. The reason this is important is if this is a listing you're creating as a pocket listing that you plan to have on the market or you plan to reactivate periodically, again, rentals are a good example there. You have to be mindful of that expiration date, because on that date, the system is automatically going to set this listing to inactive. So if I create this, and let's say, for 11 months and 20 days, it's off the market and good to go, and then I reactivate it at that 11 months and 20 days, so there's only a few days left before it hits this expiration date. When it hits the expiration date, it'll deactivate. So I just want to be mindful to push that expiration date out so that it doesn't automatically deactivate on me if I just reactivated it. So there you go there. Now if we go down here to asking price, we'll go ahead and put our price in. That seems expensive. There we go. It's a more reasonable price for the listing we're making up. I guess doesn't matter. We can do whatever we want. I can put in my property taxes. We'll say something like that. I can put in a display price if I want it to show up in a specific way. And then down here I can add in any of my listing comments. This is a great listing. There we go. So now, really I've created this with the basic information. So I could click submit at this point and I would have my kind of baseline pocket listing. And I could go in and add pictures and things to it. But we're going to go through the rest of the options so we can get a good look. So continue. Now we can put in our listing address. 123 Main Street, that's promising, right? There we are. Here we'll even put in a real address. Select our county here, and you can see I'm just running through the basics of entering listing information. So again, not that dissimilar. If I know, an area or a subdivision, areas really can be neighborhood is what it's called oftentimes. But we've got area, subdivision, we can put in our overall school district. There we are. Elementary schools, if I know the specific school attendance zone that this listing lands in. And as I enter all my information, we move on to next. From here we can define the listing agent. You can see that because I'm the one creating it, it's automatically setting me as the listing agent. But I could select a co-listing agent if I wanted to. And then once I select them, I can put their phone number in. Now if I pick one here, you can see it will automatically pull their phone number, but I could change that to something else if I wanted to. But we'll go ahead and leave that one blank. There we are. Now the office it would pick up is my default office. But you see we don't have any offices coming up in here. And continue. Now I can enter some additional details. So I won't go through and fill all this in just for the sake of time. But now you can see just the standard information. Number of bedrooms, bathrooms, heating type, just general listing options. And then I can also go through and add the specifics for each room in here if I have multiple rooms here and I have all the data for that. So when that's all set, I'll hit continue. On to our lot and construction information. So we have everything categorized to make it easier to understand there. But you can see we can enter all that information. And then on to next. And in this case, it skips over rental and commercial because it's not that kind of listing. And we drop straight into miscellaneous, where we can choose whether or not this listing will be syndicated out to third parties. We can also mark this as a student property if we want, and enter information about amenities and any kind of HOA dues if they qualify, or if this listing qualifies rather. So just so you can get a look at the rental and commercial information, I'll go back up here to basic, and you can see another convenient feature here is I can jump back and forth between these categories as I choose, so simplifies matters for me a bit. So now we'll go ahead and switch this to rental just so that we can take a look down here at rental information. There we go. So you can see I can define the rental type, whether it is an apartment or multifamily home, vacation, whatever this listing happens to be. And then have some additional options here for the date it will become available, and just rent specific options. Beach information makes a lot of sense for vacation rentals. But you can see we have all that additional information we can add in here. Now if we go back over here to basic, I'll change this back to sale, and you can see it remembered what I had before, which is handy. And then we'll switch this over to commercial and take another look. So that opened up our commercial information, and here our type of commercial building, as well as information relevant to commercial buildings across the board. So now we'll back up. We'll go ahead and change this back to a residential listing so that we can stick with that. And since I already entered the rest of the information, I'll just click submit. Now you can see it validates the terms of service for me. So basically, I'm saying that I'm not breaking any MLS rules by creating this as a pocket listing. So I'll go ahead and say I agree. You'll want to read through them before you agree. So it's just generally a good idea. So I'll mark that I agree and submit. And there you go. So now our pocket listing is created. You can see in this case, I have this, you can see these are the MLS IDs that I set for my test listings here, but this is the one I let it create automatically. And now it shows up in here just like any other listing. So if I want to make any changes to it, add seller reports, I can do all that from here, just like I could with any listing that came from the MLS. So I'll go ahead and click on the MLS ID. That takes me into the listing profile page. There we go. You can see right now there's no photo available, but if we want to change that, we can just click on the Photos tab And this is where I would add all my photos. I would just click Add Files, select the files from my computer, and then I'll be able to click the Upload button, and it will upload all those photos for me. And in addition to that, I can create panoramic photos, which was a recent addition that we have added to the system here, and we'll make another video on that goes over the specifics of this page in more detail soon. But for now, we'll just say that this is how you can enter all of your listing-specific information. Now, when it comes to a pocket listing, if I go back over here to this overview page and scroll down, we have one additional option that you don't have when it comes to a listing that came from the MLS, and that is this option down here to edit the pocket listing information. Now, this is particularly important if this listing then goes off the market, or there are some that will enter a pocket listing ahead of a listing being added to the MLS. And then when it does come in, again, this is all subject to whatever your MLS's regulations are. But once it does come from the MLS, you'll go back in here and deactivate the pocket listing since you don't want it showing up twice. To do that, I'll just click here to edit pocket listing information. And that takes me back into this pocket listing interface. And then I can change this status to inactive if I want it to disappear from the public website, but then be able to add it back to the market later because the data doesn't get deleted. Or I can select off market if I want it to be gone. I just want to get rid of it completely. So off market, and then I would go down and click submit, and then it would delete the pocket listing. So there you go. That's all there is to it. Now you can look through the other statuses that are available to you here, but those all come down to how it shows up on the website. So there we go. So I'll make this one inactive and submit. We'll agree to the terms again, submit listing. And there we go. So now this listing status has been updated, so it's no longer going to show up publicly. So there you go. In a nutshell, that is the new interface for the pocket listing system. Again, this is only going to be available to those of you that are in a company that has the pocket listing system turned on so that you can go in and create those. But if you do, now you know how that new system works. So, as always, thanks a lot for joining me. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to send an email into support@deltagroup.com or give us a call and we can help you out with whatever you need. Thanks a lot.